And then I started to realize that obedience comes before understanding. We're not going to always have the full picture. That's the reality. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll never move. Hey, 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 welcome back to the Raven Nole Show. I'm your host, Raven C. Nole. And as always, I am excited about today's episode. Today's episode is going to be a good one because I'm going to be sharing a little bit more of my story and something that I know will hit home with you. And that's having the courage to go first. Maybe God has been calling you into something new, but fear, uncertainty, or even waiting for that validation has been holding you back. If you're feeling that nudge, but struggling to take the first step, this episode is for you. And listen, I know firsthand just how scary it can be to step into the unknown before things make sense, before you have all the clarity you need. So today I want to share, like I said, some of my journey and what I've learned about trusting God, even when the full picture isn't clear and He's telling you to just go. So before we dive into today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if this message speaks to you, make sure you leave a review or share with a friend who needs this reminder. Your obedience to God might inspire someone else to also have a level of breakthrough. So today we're talking about what it really means to say yes to God before you have all the details, before you feel qualified, before it makes sense, before you have that clarity that all of us want. We all want that clarity before we can move forward. We're like, okay, God, can you just give me a sneak peek? Can I just get a little bit of a glimpse of what this is going to actually look like? So if you've ever felt like you were called to something bigger, but you kind of hesitated, right? You're like, oh, I know God is calling me, but I don't know. I can't see it for myself yet. Or if you've wanted confirmation from everyone around you before moving forward, you're like, can you send me this person to tell me that you said this, God? Can I get a sign from here, a sign from there? You're looking for signs everywhere. Or if you struggle with fear of failure or the fear of rejection, then woman of God, listen to me. This episode, it's for you. Let's talk about how to have the courage to go first. Woo! Okay, let me just start off by being real with you and tell you that it has not always been easy for me. I know you can see me on these podcast episodes. I know, you can, see me on social media. If you're in one of my prophetic groups, you're probably like, man, Raven shows up. She does the thing. She does that. But it has not always been easy for me. There has been a time in my life when God told me to step into something, but it just did not make sense in my natural mind. One of the stories that I typically share about my journey, well, I'm sure, you've probably heard this if you are a part of my world. If you've been a part of my world, maybe you know that, when I first started in this online space, I started with the Wholeness Pursuit. Okay. And so the Wholeness Pursuit was a blog. It was a blog that was taking women from brokenness to wholeness. And my tagline was, you were made for more. And so when the Lord told me to step out and even start this blog, I was in the middle of my own process. Okay. I had come out of a very, very tough season of my life where I was in bondage. If I can be real, I was bound and I was going through a healing process of my own, really trying to get set free from certain things, really trying to move forward in certain areas of my life. And a lot of trauma from my past was still it was still at the forefront of my day to day. Okay. I still struggled very strongly with social anxiety during that time. There was a lot of things that just layered inside of my soul that I was still working through. At the time, I was in school getting my degree, my counseling degree, and I really just had this want and this desire to also help other women walk through a process that I was walking through and, that I had walked through myself. And so I started this blog because I really wanted to share my journey. I really wanted to give tips based on what I was learning in school. I really wanted to share my own experience and what had worked for me and how I could help other people and other women. And so I wanted to do that, but it was very hard for me to put myself out there in that way. I mean, we're talking about starting a website from scratch. We're talking about all the ins and outs of what it really looks like to put your story out on the internet. Back in 2016, the internet was not as big. It was still big, but there's not as much social media and all the things that we have now. It wasn't as big as it is now. It's grown, it's tripled since then, almost 10 years ago. And I had not seen this before in my family. I had not seen anyone, share their story online. I had not seen any of my family members, build a blog or a website from scratch. This was not something that I was used to seeing. It was just a desire in my heart that I had. And, I had all these reasons why I shouldn't do it. Even though there was a desire, there was a drive, there was a want there was all these reasons in my head that I would hesitate at times, that I would say, okay, I don't know if I want to move forward with this. I don't know if I want to share this part of myself. I don't know if this is safe. I don't know if I should, all the things that we talk about. And I just started to really question, was I really ready? Right. And so I did what all of us do. I asked God for 1,000 confirmations before I move forward. God, can you confirm it again? One more time. I need you to confirm it one more time for me. And so God had already told me to move forward. He had already told me to start the blog. He had already solidified in me that it was going to be okay. He had already confirmed it 100 times, but I just kept saying, okay, God, can you just confirm it one more time? Just one more time for me. I would just feel settled if you could give me one more confirmation. And then I started to realize that obedience comes before understanding. We're not going to always have the full picture. That's the reality. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll never move. If you're waiting to have all the full perspective of what God is doing and all the pieces to the puzzle, you'll never have that, because obedience is what God is looking for. God wants you to step out first before the clarity comes. Okay. So you may be taking a personal leap right now pertaining to launching a business, maybe getting a certification, ministry, podcast, making a major life change, whatever it is. And so I want you to know that obedience has to come first. God doesn't give us the clarity that we so desire and we so need first. Oftentimes, he may give you a confirmation. He may give you a set of instructions. He may give you the first step to take, but he's not going to always give you the clear picture. And so you may be the one God is calling to break the mold. You may be the one that God is setting up as the example. You may be the one that's actually paving the way, and maybe you did not see anyone else do it before you. And so you're like, God, wait a minute. No, I don't have a blueprint for that. And so sometimes when you don't have that blueprint, it can be scary. It can be overwhelming. It can be challenging. It can cause a lot of anxiety when you don't have that. But I mean, look at Abraham. God told him to go to the land and I will show you, right? He gave him a set of instructions. He gave him a confirmation to move forward, but there was no map. There was no full itinerary as to how this is going to look. He just said, go. I mean, Esther had to step forward without knowing the outcome. And she said, listen, if I perish, I perish. I don't know what's going to happen when I go out here, but I know that I have to do it. And even Jesus had to lead the way in faith and obedience before even really understanding what the resurrection was. He had not experienced what it was to hang on a cross before, right? But he had to go because he knew that that's what God was telling him to do. And so like many of us, it can be scary to be the first. It can be scary to go forward, right? You may not have a blueprint, like I said, but you have God's voice. You may not have a crowd cheering you on, but you have God's approval. You may not know how it will all unfold, but you can trust that he does. All right. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. God allowed you to come across this podcast. He allowed you to listen to me today because, again, you probably have been asking for another confirmation, another confirmation, another confirmation. This is another confirmation that God has given you. I'm looking you right in the face. If you're listening to me on audio, hear me clearly. This is the confirmation again, because I know it's not the first one that God is giving you. It is time to move forward. And so when you start to be, okay, God, I got that confirmation. All right. Raven done slapped me, boom, 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 across the head. Okay, I got it. I'm shaking myself into sobriety. Well, how do I actually start moving forward then? I know that I'm the first. I know that I have to have the courage to be the first to do it. I have to have the courage to actually move forward. But what are some practical things that you can help me with moving forward? And so I would say, first and foremost, say yes. Say yes before you have the full picture. It's a trust walk. I can't even tell you how many times I've had to trust God and just give him a yes, even though I'm like, okay, I'm longing. Like Lord, please just give me more. Lord, give me a glimpse. Give me a little bit more to hang on to. And you can like kick and scream all day long. God's like, you got enough. You got enough. You gonna give me a yes? Okay. You gonna give me a yes? Okay. So my encouragement to you would be say yes before you see the full picture. Okay. And when you say yes, you'll realize that more clarity comes with your obedience. And then I would also say, stop waiting for the right time. It just does not exist. The right time does not exist. I'll say it 100 times. Your life is not going to get any less busy. It's not going to get any less busy. And so if you're waiting for the right time, that time is never going to come. Okay. You have to have the faith to move, even when the timing feels uncertain. You have to be able to say, okay, God, I know that I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. I know I got all this other stuff on my plate. I know that I got this, I got that, I got this. I don't know if I can, but you have to have the courage to say, you have to have the faith to say, okay, the timing feels uncertain, but I trust God. Okay. And then lastly, even in my journey throughout my life, I've had to make sure, I've had to fight for my proximity to the Lord, because you have to stay close. When you are venturing into something that you've never seen before, and you really are the first to go, and you really are the first to do it, and you really are jumping out here in unknown territory, you have to fight for your proximity to the Lord. You got to stay close to him, because you're walking in uncharted territory. Okay. His voice is the only thing that's going to guide you, right? You don't have a blueprint. You never seen it happen before. And so you have to be very close. Your ear has to be tuned into the Lord so that he can give you the full picture of, here's what the next step is. Go left, go right, stop here, take 2 steps forward, jump, leap, whatever that is, right? Move here, move there, because he's giving you the strategy as you are moving forward. And so you have to stay close so that you can hear him clearly. So your yes is connected to someone else's breakthrough as well. And so that's what you have to know, that even as you are staying close to God, even as you are, coming to resolve about timing, your yes, okay, in all of that, your yes is connected to someone else's breakthrough. We don't go through seasons and life processes, and we don't have to be the first just for no reason, right? He's doing this because how you are paving the way is causing others to come behind you, and they can also get their breakthrough. So when you move, you make it easier for the next woman to step into her calling too. And so I want you to be reminded of that. All right. So if you've been hesitating, if you've been like playing small and you like, okay, I'm going to give God a yes, maybe. I want you to know that you are called for such a time as this. And even though you may have had to be the first, even though you may not have it all figured out, you just have to say yes and take that next step. So if today's episode blessed you, make sure to share this episode and tune in to next week, because we're going to be diving into another topic that's going to also bless you. Because after you've said yes, now it's like, how do I manage all of this that's on my plate? It's going to be a good one. And then also, if you're looking for more tips to help you navigate this season of your life, go ahead and join my newsletter by clicking the link in the comment section, because you're going to get all kind of goodies that you're going to need to be able to support you in your journey. Again, if this episode blessed you, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss an episode. It's your time. Go first, say yes, trust God. Until next time, keep thriving and making an impact.